Hey guys, welcome to Mike It Yourself. So in today's video, what we're going to do is replace the water inlet valve on our washer. So the other day I came into the garage and there was a large puddle on the floor. You can trace it back to the washer, and I removed a panel from the back side of the washer, and it was leaking right where the water lines connect. So once I removed the panel, I was able to see that it was actually leaking from the base of the water inlet valve. Okay, so when your washers leak, generally speaking, they're going to leak from one of two places. Either a failed inlet valve or the seal that is in your washer hose. You can also burst the line, but the washer seals, they go bad after time. They're very cheap, very simple to replace. We'll show that as part of this process, since I have to disconnect these lines anyways. It's something that I wouldn't necessarily need to buy off of Amazon or anything like that. You can go to your local Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace Hardware, whatever you got, even at like Walmart, and buy a little package of them. They're like, I don't know, 10 O-rings in a pack, and you get, it's for like less than $3, generally speaking. So we'll go ahead and get started, and we'll get this replaced out. This is pretty specific to this unit as far as the make model, but most, if not all, washers have a water inlet valve. So we're going to be working around potentially wet area and where the circuitry is on the washer. So anytime you're working around electricity in general, you should always remove the power from the unit. So I've unplugged the washer from the wall. So next we're going to remove those water lines from the back of the washer so I can pull the washer out. I recommend using either channel locks or a set of pliers, maybe even a good set of just gloves. Sometimes those water lines, when they get installed or put on, they're a little tight. So you may need that extra gription to pull them loose. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and remove the hoses. Like I said, I know it's going to leak some water, so I'm going to just drop a towel down there, so that way as soon as I disconnect them, I can let them dangle over the towel and it's just going to absorb that water. I'm going to use some channel locks to get these off. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, the hose seals as being another thing that goes bad. These things get old over time. The water just deteriorates them. So you can see that one in there. It's just a little rubber ring that goes in there. Let me see if I can pull this one out to show you a little bit better. Oh, this one's gonna be a little bit stubborn to get out. There we go. So that's it. Just a little deal. You can see just these are brand new. Just in the short time, you can see there's already a ring established because of the how tight it's been on there. So you can imagine that over the course of maybe 4 years or something like that, that they'll quickly become damaged and water will find its way around it, get through these little threads and start dripping down. Okay guys, so I've got the washer pulled out, and one of the things I didn't call out is there's a tube usually attached to the back side of your washer. This is your drain tube, so once your wash has completed its rinse cycle or even the initial wash cycle, when the water is drained from your washer, it comes out this tube. Sometimes it will have a little bit of water in it, so again, you want to watch out for this, so that way it doesn't get on you, your feet, or your carpet, or whatever. But know that that's what that is. Not a big deal. It's usually in a tube or some sort on the back side of the wall, and you can just lift up. If there's a zip tie on it, you may have to cut the zip tie so you can pull your washer out. And the washers are generally pretty heavy, so you know, if you need help, definitely ask for it. Okay, so just a quick tip while I take this top part off. A lot of times when you're working on things, and it doesn't have to be this, it could be anything, you find yourself in need of a third hand. right? So in this particular case, I've got to lift this up and be able to reach under there to remove those clips. So when that happens, we kind of skip over the obvious and miss opportunities. So in this case, I'm gonna just use a little block of wood that I have here so that I can hold it up and not get my hand smashed. And this way it'll let me go ahead and work on it. So depending on how much you can lift up on any particular item, maybe you can use a shoe, anything that's bulky that you can put in between, you know, the top and bottom surface of anything. So there you go. There's my hack for the day. Okay guys, so after a little bit of struggle, I was able to get the clips that are underneath this unclipped. So it's got one on this side, and then on the other side here, there's another one of these little aluminum clips that hold this down in place, and then you got some like little plastic hooks, so you have to shift it forward a little bit and it'll come off. Be careful, and if you can, do research specifically on your model if you have to remove something like this, because if you don't, you can crack your plastic, right? So it happens. I mean, it's gonna happen, right? So just be careful of that, be mindful of it. So now that the cover is off, you can see the actual unit here. You got your wires and the 2 screws we're talking about. So most of these plugs are very, very simple to disconnect. There's nothing complex about them. So let's take a look at where this unit is wired into. So it goes right here into this plug. Now, anytime you're doing something with wires, if you're not really familiar with it, what I recommend is use your camera on your phone and take a picture of it before you do anything. Because when you put it back together, if you're like, oh my God, I don't remember, you can always refer back to your picture and you can zoom in to see what color went where or whatever it was. If you've been doing electrical work or mechanic work for a long time, I promise you've taken something apart and you don't remember how to put it back together. And that's how a lot of us have learned over time. So you might want to cheat and use that. It's very easy, very helpful. Thank God for cell phones. So I'm going to go ahead and unplug this. Very simple. Got a little clip here that you just squeeze to lift it up, and came unplugged from there. I'm going to undo these 2 screws. I got to get a little wrench on there and get that unit off. Okay, I've taken out the 2 screws. So this has just got 3 basically like plugs that go into the reservoir that's here where the water passes through. So I'm just going to pull up on it. Comes right up, no problem. There is another connector here that we'll have to unplug. Again, not a big deal. You just kind of lift the little clip and it comes out. So very simple. We're going to have to remove these to put it on the new unit. I did want to point out, just again, you know, learning stuff, if you've never done this before, is when you get these units, you see this blue and red. This is just a reminder of hot and cold. If you don't have labels on your hoses or you know, the knob isn't red versus blue to tell you which one's hot and which one's cold, I recommend just using a Sharpie, and you can write on the little like backside of your washer dryer. You can put a C for cold and a H for hot, or 1 and 2, whatever you want to do. So that way you can determine, you can match it, right? So you know which hose goes to which line, because you don't want to get them swapped out, because you're trying to wash your clothes in cold and it'll be hot. The other purpose these things serve is to keep the rocks and calcium and all this stuff that may build up in your pipes, like big chunks of it. This keeps it from getting into your wash load. So if you see these aren't plugs that have to be removed. You want to leave those in place. These are acting as filters for you. If you have really old pipes in your neighborhood, over time these things might get filled up with all of those rocks and sediment and all that stuff. So if you notice your pressure dropping in the washer from time to time, or over a long period of time, turn off the water line, make sure you unplug it because you're working with stuff, right? Pull this off, pull the water hose off of here and take a look. You might find that this is all just filled up with a bunch of those little rocks. Remove it, and when you put your line back on, you'll see that your pressure is restored. So easy fix, right? There's a bonus. All right, my next step in this process is to remove these four wires, and these are those solenoids that I was talking about, or the valves or the controls, right? So electricity gets sent to this, and it's basically like kind of like a plunger, right? It's gonna open an area so that the water can freely flow through, because there's always pressure. You have your water lines turned on like a water hose, so there's always water here present, ready to go. So when the washer goes through its cycles, it tells it, okay, number whatever 2, open up. So signal gets sent to this, pulls back that little plunger, and it allows the water to pass through. When it says it's full or it's done or whatever that process is, it pushes it back and shuts it down. So pretty simple, right? Stuff isn't as complex as we think it is sometimes. So I'm going to disconnect these, and I'm going to connect it to the new one. So here's our brand new unit. Shiny, shiny. So pretty, right? So I'm going to go ahead and put the wire harness back on this. And like I said, if you don't remember what your order of connectors was, take that picture. You can always reference it. In this case, it's pretty simple. It goes from right to left. And because the wires have been sitting in a way for so long, they kind of, you know the order, right? It's kind of simple sometimes. Sometimes it just works out. I will tell you, trying to get these connectors off of the old unit was such a pain. I had to get some pliers to lightly grip this because it's plastic. You'll crack this if you crank down on it, but to pull it off, so kind of a pain. So these just simply slide on. Right. Then we have that bottom connector. So you just route that through. Mine's got a little clip there to manage that wire. So what I'm going to do is actually, before I clip it in, to make sure I don't clip it in the wrong spot, because then I won't be able to reach. I'm going to put that in first. It clips in, and then I can do this one. So that way I know I have the appropriate length available. I'm not stretching this wire or anything like that. So the harness is on. Put the unit in. So I'm just lining it up with these 3 holes. Push down. Plug it in. So now I've got these 2 screws that need to go in. I will tell you, I probably should have waited on the connectors because they kind of get in the way of the screws a little bit. So I'm going to actually back this connector off. And this way it gives me easy access to that screw head. And then once I get it screwed down, I'll go ahead and plug the connector back in. So I'm going to do that now, and then we'll put it together and give it a test run. Okay, so I've got this all hooked back up, and I threw some dirty towels into the washer so that way I'm not just wasting water. So we're testing 2 things. One, to make sure your part, the broken part that you replaced, is a successful fix, and then the second item is your ability to put things back together, right? So the big thing is going to be making sure your hoses are on. Again, don't crank down too hard on them because this is plastic, so you'll break it. But at the same time, you don't need to handle it with, tighten it feather tight, because it will leak then and you'll think, oh no, I didn't fix my problem. So let's check it out. Gotta turn the water on. Make sure you do that, because without water, no success. So turning this on, should not see any water leaking from your lines. You've got no water there. That's good. Now we're going to activate the washer. Okay, you heard the water come on. No water splashing around. This is a successful fix. So, good deal. Okay guys, so as you saw, we successfully replaced the water inlet valve control unit tube thing here on our washer, and it's ready to load now as I speak. Easy fix, probably special tools, no super complicated knowledge that needs to be had in order to do this. Anybody can do it. The toughest part is moving your washer around because they are heavy, so that might be a restriction for some of y'all. But other than that, simple, right? I am not going to put the link to this part in my description as I normally do, because this is very specific to my washer. Please, I hope you learned something from this today and are able to fix something like this for yourself in the future. Until then, like, comment, subscribe. If you really like the videos and you want to make sure you don't miss out on them, hit that notification bell. Every Sunday I try to put it out at 9 o'clock in the morning, so that way you have your weekly dose of Mike It Yourself. Until then, I hope to see you on the next one. Have a great Halloween.